Hello, welcome to Tax 1 class, the general principles of income taxation. I am your professor, Romualdo Fernandez Credo, for this first semester academic year 2020-2021. Please get a pen and a notebook for you to write the important information. Are you ready? I bet you are. So sit back, relax, and let's learn tax. Introduction to the general principles of taxation. So let's go over the definition. Let's tackle yung definition first. Taxation may be defined as the state power, a legislative process, and a mode of government cost distribution. So please take note yung important points na naka-underline at saka naka-bold. Namely, state power, legislative process, and a mode of government cost distribution. So let's discuss them one by one. Okay, so based sa definition kanina ng taxation, mayroong three important points. So unahin na natin yung as a state power. It is inherent power to enforce proportional contribution from its subjects for public purpose. Power. Kapangyarihan ng gobyerno. That is inherent. Ano ibig sabihin ng inherent power? It goes with it. They coexist. Kung may tax, may gobyerno. Kung may gobyerno, may tax. So, ganon. Hindi mo pwedeng tanggalin ang taxation sa government. Kasi nga, ulitin natin, they coexist. And what is that power all about? It is the power to enforce proportional contribution. The power to take your money, hindi naman lahat, part of your money na tinatawag nating tax. So, sino ang pwedeng masubject to tax? Pwedeng individual, pwedeng properties, and pwedeng transaction or event. And yung tax na yun should be used for public purpose. So don't worry, no? May limitation naman ang power to tax. Yung tax na makokollect, it should be used for public purpose. Taxation as a process. The process of laying taxes by the legislature of the state to enforce proportional contribution from its subjects for public purpose. Ulit, no? So alam niyo na, diba? Yung proceeds ng proportional contribution dapat gagamitin for public purpose. So, yung number 2, ang ibig sabihin lang yan is hindi basta-basta magbabayad ng tax. Hindi basta-basta magkukolect ang government ng tax. There should be a process. Ano ibig sabihin ng process? A step-by-step procedure. No? So, dapat meron munang levying. Ang levying, ang ibig sabihin ng levying is yung imposition of tax. So, gagawa ng batas, ng law, ang mga lawmakers natin, yung Congress at saka sa Senate, para mag-impose ng tax sa mga, sila na rin ang pipili ng mga magiging subject ng tax na yun. And of course, dapat yung ipropose nilang tax, it should be for public purpose pa rin. By the way, yung tax bill should originate from the Congress. Mamaya na natin i-discuss kung bakit dun sa stages. Number 3, mode of cost distribution. a mode by which the state allocates its cost or burden to its people who are benefited by its spending. Of course, we all know na ang government is the largest organization in our country. It has the biggest assets. Then, it holds the largest manpowers. Wala yan kumpara sa mga malalaking organization. No? Mas malaki ang government. Therefore, it also has a larger cost or expenditure. So, paano babayaran ng gobyerno yung mga babayarin niya? Considering na ang dami niyang properties, ang dami niyang manpower, ang dami niyang expenses. Siyempre, kanino pa ba? Kaya nga sila nagkaroon ng power to tax. So, partly, tayo. So, kaya nga cost distribution. So, i-distribute nila sa mga taxpayer yung costs nila. Anyway, government naman is a necessity. So, kailangan natin ng gobyerno, so wala tayong magagawa. Let's help our government. The theory of taxation. So, ang theory of taxation, government is a necessity daw. Kailangan natin ng gobyerno. Government is indispensable in every society. So, lahat daw ng society, kailangan mayroong government. Bakit? Anong effect pag walang government? Siyempre, magkakaroon ng chaos, magkakagulo, di ba? So, dapat mayroong magro-rule kasi para maayos ang society. Without it, the people will not relish the benefits of a civilized and orderly society. So, yan yung magiging effect pag wala tayong government. Hindi tayo magkakaroon ng civilized at saka orderly society. Babalik tayo dun sa unang panahon nung wala pang government. Kanya-kanya. Diba? Walang ruler. So, walang nag-i-impose ng rule. So, therefore, wala tayong susundin. So, kanya-kanya. So, magiging magulo. However, government cannot exist without a system of funding. Yun lang. Siyempre nga, paano nga naman isusupport ng government yung kanyang needs para i-run yung government kung walang fund. So, kailangan talaga ng taxation ng government. It is a necessity. Okay, so ang basis of taxation is mutuality of support or ito yung tinatawag nilang give and take. The government provides benefit to the people in the form of public service and the people provide the funds that finance the government needs. So, ganun lang yun. Give and take. Sabi ko nga kanina, no? So, in order for us to realize the benefits na binibigay ng government, syempre, kailangan nating ibigay yung part natin. And ano yung part natin? Syempre, we have to pay our taxes para magkaroon ng educational program. So, dapat may tax. Magbayad ng tax. Para magkaroon ng program sa health, dapat may tax. Para magkaroon ng project ang Department of Public Works and Highways, mga kalsada, tulay, dapat magbayad tayo ng tax. Receipt of benefits is conclusively presumed. Every citizen and resident of the state directly or indirectly benefits from the public services rendered by the government. So, hindi naman kailangan na ikaw mismo actually ang makareceive ng benefit. Kasi nga, sabi dyan, na-receive mo yung benefit pwedeng directly or indirectly. So, ang example nun is, pag may project ang DPWH at dumaan ka sa kalsada, so na-enjoy mo yung benefits directly. Pero kung hindi ka dumadaan doon sa kalsada yon, baka naman yung mga goods na binibenta nyo o kaya yung goods na binibili nyo ay dumadaan doon sa kalsada. So mayroon ka pa rin, somehow, nag-benefit ka pa rin doon sa government services. Oh, by the way, ito yung mga example ng services, selected lang to, madami pa, no? Na ino-offer ng government. So, use of public infrastructure, access to public health sa health center, educational services, yung mga public schools and mga universities, protection and security. O kaya pwede kang lumabas dyan, hindi ka mo kailangang mag-worry kasi nga may mga police and etc. na nag-maintain ng peace and order. Comfort of living in a civilized and peaceful society. Yun nga, di ba? Nakapag-business ka dahil peaceful yung society. Kapag walang government, baka hindi ka makapag-conduct ng business kasi nga magulo. So, hindi mag-ooperate yung business mo. Theory of cost allocation is a mode of allocating government costs or burden to the people. So, paano nga ba nag-allocate ang government ng cost or ng burden sa mga taxpayer? So, ito yung mga ginamit nilang concept. Una is benefits received theory. It presupposes that the more benefit one receives from the government, the more he has to pay. So, kung mas marami kang natatanggap na benefit sa government, mas marami kang babayaran. For example, mas malaki yung business mo, siyempre mas malaki yung income mo. So, mas malaki ang benefit na nare-receive mo sa government kasi nga, mas marami kang services na ginagamit sa government kasi malaki yung business mo. So, therefore, mas mataas yung babayaran mo. Ability to pay presupposes that taxation should also consider the taxpayer's ability to pay, yung kakayanan ng tao, ng taxpayer na magbayad ng tax. Siyempre, mas malaki yung properties mo, mas malaki yung dapat mong bayaran. Mas konti yung properties mo, mas konti yung kaya mong bayaran tax. Aspect of ability to pay theory. So, let's expand yung ability to pay. Merong dalawa daw yun, vertical equity at saka horizontal equity. So, yung vertical equity is the extent of one's ability to pay is directly proportional to the level of his tax base. So, for example, mas mataas yung income, mas mataas din yung rate. Yun ibig sabihin ng vertical equity. So, sumusunod. While yung horizontal equity, it requires consideration of a particular circumstance of the taxpayer. So, may nangyari kasi. For example, may na-inherit kang property, so magbabayad ka ng tax. Nadagdagan yung property mo, ganun, magbabayad ka ng tax. So, horizontal at saka vertical. Yung vertical, kung tumataas yung income, tataas din yung tax, yung ability to pay mo. The lifeblood doctrine. Taxes are essential and indispensable to the continued subsistence of the government. Without taxes, the government would be paralyzed or lack of motive power to activate or to operate it. So, ganyan, kaya importante yung taxation sa government. According sa lifeblood doctrine. So, taxation is the lifeblood of the government. So, can you imagine kung walang tax? Anong mangyayari? The government will die. Kaya nga sabi dyan, it is essential. It is absolutely essential and indispensable. Ganun ka-importante yung taxes. Hindi kailangan at hindi siya pwedeng mawala para tuloy-tuloy ang government. Para tuloy-tuloy ang serbisyo ng government, dapat merong tax. Kasi pag walang tax, mapaparalyze ang government. Ibig sabihin na mapaparalyze, it will not function. So, kung hindi nag-function ang government, wala din tayong marireceive na services. Walang education, walang health services, walang government projects sa DPWH, etc. etc. Implication of the lifeblood doctrine in taxation. Number 1, tax is imposed even in the absence of a constitutional grant. So, pwede pa rin mag-impose ang government ng tax kasi nga it is his power. Diba? So, kahit hindi sinabi ng Constitution na pwedeng mag-tax kasi it is not expressly granted sa Constitution. Ano ba yung Constitution? It is yung fundamental law of the land. So, kahit hindi sinabi doon sa fundamental law of the land na pwedeng mag-tax, still ine-exercise pa rin ng government. Bakit? Kasi nga, it is the lifeblood of the government. Number 2, claims for tax exemption are construed against the taxpayer. So, kung sasabihin mo sa BIR na ikaw ay exempted from the taxes, ang burden of proof ay nasa taxpayer. Ikaw ang magpapatunay na indeed ikaw nga ay qualified for exemption. So, ikaw ang magpipresent ng proof or ng documents na ikaw ay exempted. Number 3, the government reserves the right to choose the objects of taxation. So, sabi dyan, the government has the right to choose the object. So, sila ang pipili kung sino, ano ang kanilang isa-subject sa tax. So, pwedeng tao, natural being, pwedeng artificial being, corporation, partnership, mga businesses. Pwede namang activity, yung act of doing business or yung mga transaction. So, pwedeng is-subject to tax. For example, bumili ka, may VAT. So, yan ay subject to tax. Number 4, the courts are not allowed to interfere with the collection of taxes. So, ganyan, kaimportante ang tax. Hindi pwedeng ipa-stop ang collection ng mga court. Yung collection lang naman. Okay, number 5, in taxation daw, income received in advance is taxable upon receipt. So, na-receive mo pa lang yung pera, kahit hindi mo pa na-earn, dapat magbayad ka na ng tax. Kasi nga, lifeblood of the government. Diba? Bayaran mo na yung tax. So, cash basis. Deduction for capital expenditure and prepayment is not allowed. However, kapag meron kang malaking disbursement, kasi nga, capital asset, hindi mo pwedeng i-deduct yung amount na binili mo. Kaya, syempre, it is depreciable kasi. A lower amount of deduction is preferred when a claim of expense is subject to limit. So, kung mayroon kang choices, kapag expense, it is the lower amount. On the other hand, a higher tax base is preferred when the object of tax has a multiple base. Kapag income, pag revenue, yung mas mataas ang pipiliin mo. So, parang baliktad lang sila. No? So, pag deduction, ano ang sabi? Pipiliin mo yung lower amount. Pero kapag income, pag tax base, pag revenue siya, ang pipiliin mo is yung whichever is yung higher base pala. Sorry. Okay, so earlier, na-establish na natin or na-mention natin that taxation is a power of the state. Pero hindi lang pala isa ang power of the state. Tatlo ang kanyang inherent power. Namely, taxation power, police power, and the power of eminent domain. So gusto ko lang ulit emphasize itong tatlong power na ito, it coexists with the government. Kasi nga inherent, when the government is created, kasamang nag-exist ang power to tax, police power at saka power of eminent domain. The power of the state to enforce proportional contribution from its subject to sustain itself, yun yung tinatawag nating power of taxation. So para mag-continue ang government sa kanyang pagbibigay ng services, so dapat mayroong proportional contribution coming from doon sa mga subject na taxation. Number 2, police power, the general power of the state to enact laws to protect the well-being of the people. So ito yung tinatawag nating power to regulate. Importante yung power to regulate. You need to regulate yung activity para hindi ma-abuse, para hindi magkagulo, para walang mapahamak, para magkaroon ng peace and order at saka maayos yung society. Kailangan mayroong regulation. Hindi pwedeng wala. For example, sa ating panahon ngayon, di ba? We are required to wear face mask at saka face shield. Bakit? For our own good, di ba? Para ma-protect tayo, di ba? Sa business settings naman, bakit kailangang mag-secure ng permit ang mga businesses? Siyempre, para to ensure na susunod sila sa mga standards, sa mga procedure, para protected din yung kanilang customer. For example, yung canteen, kailangan niya ng sanitary permit. O yung halos lahat ng business, kailangan ng sanitary permit. Bakit kailangan? Kasi nga, especially kung food yan, siyempre, kapag hindi malinis, magkakasakit yung mga customer. So, yun. So, isa yun sa mga power to regulate ng government. Number 3, power of eminent domain, the power of the state to take private property for public use after paying just and compensation. So, hindi mo pwedeng i-resist ito. Hindi porket ikaw yung owner ng property, ikaw ang nandun sa title niya, ilalaban mo yun sa government. Pwede pa rin kunin ng government yan kapag gagamitin for public use. Kasi nga, isa nga yan sa power nila, power of eminent domain. Don't worry, sabi naman dyan sa end, after paying just compensation. So, magbibigay naman ang government ng bayad para sa yung property na kinuha ng government. Okay, so this is a matrix to know yung differences at saka similarities ng tatlong powers of the government. Namely, taxation, power, police power, at saka yung power of eminent domain. So, isa-isayin natin as to exercising authority. So, sino ang nag-exercise nito? Yung taxation, it is only sa government. So, same sila sa police power. However, naiba lang sa eminent domain kasi it can be exercised, yung power of eminent domain, it can be exercised by government and then sa private. So, in other words, yung eminent domain, pwedeng i-assign, yung power na yun, pwedeng i-assign ng government. Assignable. As to purpose, ano ba ang purpose ng taxation? It is to support the government. While yung police power, ang purpose niya is to protect the general welfare of the people. And sa eminent domain, it is for public use. So, iba-iba sila ng purpose. So, dyan sa stage na yan, iba-iba sila. Persons affected. So, sino ang affected? Sa taxation, community or class of individual. So, grupo ng individual. Affected yung buong komunidad. Ganon din sa police power. So, pag nag-impose ng tax law at nagkaroon ng law to regulate Ang affected is yung buong community, buong Pilipinas. While yung eminent domain, yung owner lang ng property na yon. For example, nagpagawa ng kalsada, yun lang gagamitin sa kalsada ang affected. Kung sino-sino lang yung mga may-ari ng mga area na gagamitin. Hindi buong community ang affected. So, naibasa ulit sa eminent domain. As to amount of imposition, sa taxation, it is unlimited. Sa police power, limited. And sa eminent domain, no amount of imposed. Bakit? Kasi nga, hindi ka magbabayad. Sa power of eminent domain, hindi ikaw ang magbabayad. Ikaw ang babayaran ng government para sa property mo na kinuha nila. Sa police power naman, usually yung mga permit, mga license permit, mga ganon, fees, medyo minimal lang naman. And then sa tax, it is unlimited. It is dictated by the need of the government. As to importance, so ang taxation is the most important. However, yung police power is the most superior and yung eminent domain is important. Relationship with the Constitution. So, yung taxation daw is inferior sa Constitution. So, pag nagkaroon ng conflict, yung Constitution at yung tax law, matatalo ang tax law. Police power versus Constitution. Sinong mananalo? Sabi dyan, police power is the most superior. So, ang police power ang magpre-prevail. Eminent domain versus yung Constitution, superior din ang eminent domain. Limitation. So, yung taxation, it is subject to constitutional and inherent limitation. Police power, ano ang limitation niya? Public interest and due process. So, lagi nyo naririnig yan, di ba? Sa pag may ina-arrest, dapat may due process. Pag may ini-impose, dapat may due process. And then, yung eminent domain, it is for public purpose with just compensation. Similarities of the three powers of the state. Number one, they are all necessary attributes of the sovereignty. Attributes or characteristic of the sovereignty sila. Number two, they are all inherent in the state. So, they coexist with the state. Kasama silang na-create nung create ang government. So, it is, yung three power is indispensable sa government. Kung nawala sila, wala na rin government. Number three, they are all legislative in nature. So, ang nature nila ay legislative, meaning dapat magkaroon ng law o may ipasang law bago pwedeng i-enforce yung tatlong powers. Hindi pwedeng mag-collect ng tax nang walang tax law na ipapas. Hindi pwedeng mag-regulate ng activity na walang ordinance or law na naipapas. Hindi pwedeng mag-take ng private property nang wala ding legislation, nang walang batas na nagsasabi na mag-create ng project kung saan kailangan yung property mo. Number four, they are all ways in which the state interferes with your private rights and properties. Oo naman, di ba? So, sa taxation, kinukuha nila yung pera mo. Di ba? Kukunin nila yung portion of your earnings. Sa police power, pwede kang makulong. They can take your life, liberty, and property. Di ba? Pag may violation, pag nakasuhan ka, pwedeng cash ang kunin nila, property, or your life, or yung liberty mo. Tapos, dun sa eminent domain naman, syempre yung property na kakailanganin. Number five, they all exist independently with the Constitution. and are exercisable by the government even without the constitutional grant. Kasi nga, inherent silang tatlo sa state. Diba? Hindi sila pwedeng mawala. So, kahit hindi sinabi ni Constitution, ni Fundamental Law of the Land, na mayroon sila, ini-exercise pa rin ng government yung three powers. Okay, let's continue. Yung similarities of the three powers of the state. Number 6, they all presupposes an equivalent form of compensation received by the person affected by the exercise of power. So sa power to tax, ano ba ang compensation? Anong kapalit? It is the services na binibigay ng government. Sa police power, ano naman ang compensation? It is yung peace and order, saka general welfare na marireceive natin, yung peace and orderly society. Tapos sa eminent domain, syempre yung compensation, yung bayad ng property mo na kinuha ng government dahil sa gagamitin for public purpose. Number 7, the exercise of these powers by the local government units may be limited by the national legislation. So may limitation naman yun sa mga local government kasi baka magkaroon ng double effect. The scope of the taxation power. The scope of taxation is widely regarded as comprehensive, number 1, number 2, plenary, number 3, unlimited, and number 4, it is supreme. So comprehensive and plenary, ibig sabihin, it is of wide scope. It covers everything. So they can tax anything at any time. It is also unlimited kasi it is dictated by the need of the government. Hence, it is very powerful. So it is a supreme power. So looking at that 4 terms dun sa scope of taxation, para siyang nakakatakot. However, don't worry kasi meron naman siyang limitation. So mababalance nung limitation of power to tax kasi nagkakatakot yung scope ng taxation.